All right, good evening. I would like to, I guess I'll call it to order. I'm going to call the Village Council regular meeting to order on September 12th, 2023 at 6:01 p.m. We are going to, I need a motion to allow council members to participate remotely. That would be Mayor Polino, if I can get that motion.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then I also need a motion to allow me to preside over the meeting since Joe is remote.
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye. All right, thank you guys very much. Next
Hi, guys,
up,
sorry I'm late.
hi, Joe. Moving right along. Next up is adoption of the agenda. Do we have any changes, additions, subtractions? Nope. Wayne? Bob, Andy? Good. Joe, you good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
The only one that I have is, did you already do it? Did you already move it, Austin? Oh. Is number 9 on the consent agenda, consider approval of termination of Tom Short Landscape Maintenance Agreement, previously recorded 10/8/15, book 6544, page 662, and revised maintenance plan and maintenance agreements for Tullamore. If we can move that to unfinished business number 2, that would be great. And that is all that I have. So I need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Pledge of Allegiance, if we can all stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Next up, public comment. Austin, do we have any?
Yes. First up is Heather Shapiro, 209 Claridge Court.
Okay, so before we get started, I'm just going to read our little blurb. Everyone's welcome to speak during public comment. Please sign in. And if you have any written copy, just give them to the clerk, Austin. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. We'll set a timer. Village Council, if you have a group on one issue, one person can speak on your behalf. And because this is public comment time, we are here to listen, but we won't be interacting with you and answering your questions. Okay, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I know that there was a bunch of people from our neighborhood at Belle Grove that submitted letters to be read. I don't know if that, Austin, did you get?
I received one submitted comment via email, but we don't read those out loud. We just
Okay.
put those in the minutes.
Okay, so I don't want to be the rep, everyone had their own input. I'm just here today just to discuss the roads at Belle Grove and how they were paved. They're absolutely horrible and disgusting. They're already deteriorating. Each cul-de-sacs, there's already gravel everywhere. I actually took a picture today on the road that there's a huge wire sticking out from the blacktop on the road where either a car is going to get a flat, a kid, there's a lot of kids in the neighborhood, obviously riding bikes, they're going to be majorly injured. I tried to even pull it out to save someone. It's just, it is the worst quality I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Majorly disappointed. I'm not quite sure what could be done. I know there's a bond that you guys have to help us with roads and sidewalks. They're all atrocious. And I know this is not the first that you heard from it, but I had to say a comment before this division is done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Deanna Burton, 2010 Belle Grove Drive.
Good Good evening. I also wanted to just bring to the attention the conditions of the road. Heather reached out to me, and about half of the neighbors within the neighborhood have all expressed concern with regard to the brand-new asphalt and pavement that was completed probably, I think, in April. It is eroding. There is visible, like, up to an inch deep divots in many sections already happening in the road. The edges are already pebbled and deteriorating. And it's uneven, and like to her point, just she showed me the wire, it's about the thickness of a coat hanger. So it stands about 6 inches tall. We smashed it down with our feet, but it just kind of speaks to the quality of the construction that went into the asphalt. As a side note, I know that there has been some emails with regard to like the weeds that were surrounding the road, and although that would not seem to be the same matter, it was the asphalt company, the paving company, that actually came back in, put fill dirt after they laid the asphalt, and then they sprayed in some we thought was going to be hydroseed. It's now been identified as like Dallas grass or something to that extent. It's extremely invasive, and in some of our yards, which had fresh new sod, it's already invading our brand new sod and our nice grass that we are paying a lot of money for. So this was perpetrated on us by the asphalt company. So we have an unsafe road deteriorating with grass that's going to cost us all money to treat as a result of what they put down. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Forgive me, I'm going to butcher the name.
I think it's me, Kamakshi.
Yes.
Yeah, I just came to tell the same thing, whatever my neighbors told. So I don't have anything. They already spoke about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're 202 Claridge Court, correct?
Yes, we are. Yeah. Thank you.
The submitted comment that we have already put in the minutes is from Lindsay Grabau of 206 Claridge Court.
Okay,
So you guys, I emailed it to you all earlier, so you've seen that.
perfect. Thank you very much. Any other comments?
That's all.
Nope. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Next up, presentations. Presentation from Granite Sky Creative Group on logos and marketing for the Geo Bond Public Education Campaign. I'm going to turn this over to Austin.
Excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jared Brown of Granite Sky. He'll walk you through our schedule for the upcoming months on the project.
Thank you, Austin. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. So I was just wanting to go over some things and allow you guys a little bit of time to ask questions and kind of see how we've handled some of these projects in the past. I believe you guys recently, at your last meeting, saw this prospective schedule that we put together for the bond education campaign. And so I just wanted to highlight a couple things here. We've made a couple minor edits to this, but the goal right now is we're working with the village staff to develop a brand, a mark that we'll use for the education campaign. So something, an identifiable logo type, as if you will, that will identify all the education elements that citizens would see. So whether that be something they get in the mail, a sign that they see driving down the road, a flyer that they get, anything like that. So some way to identify the education campaign and what the projects are going to entail, all the details that will be encompassed with those. So that's what we're working on right now with staff. And then as we get into October, we'll be working on the messaging, so making sure that we're getting all the drafts of the different elements. So we've got flyers that we're gonna have some FAQs that will be published on the website, PowerPoint templates that will be like a presentation that can be utilized going into HOAs or different civic organizations, so everyone has all the key components. And then we will be beginning to work on the website, so a centralized hub that we'll be pointing citizens to, where they can get all the updated information. What a lot of those have developed into in past projects we've done is they end up utilizing that little micro website. That's kind of a project update website that citizens can still go to and get updates on the project as it's ongoing after the referendum. And then when we get into November, we'll be working on the actual like conceptual design, so signage, presentations, flyers, the mailer out to citizens. There is a public hearing at the beginning of December, so we'll do like a small print run of flyers to have at that public hearing. And then if, depending on what comes out of the hearing, if there's questions or concerns or anything like that, we can fine tune that flyer to have, you know, a final version that will do a larger print run on that will be used for the rest of the campaign. And then the goal is at the beginning of December or by December that we will have launched the bond website with all the information. We'll have printed flyers, the signage, all that stuff will be in hand at that point, and as well as voter information cards, and the mailer will go through print. Beginning in January, February timeframe, we'll be running a couple of different social media campaigns. So there's a general bond education campaign. There is just driving the vote, and then a reminder to vote right before the election. And then in January, at the beginning of January, first or second week, we're looking to have a mailer in citizens' homes. That will be that final piece that they'll get, 6 to 8 weeks before the voting day. And we will also, in the month of January, begin running some informational ads in the bi-monthly newsletter that you guys have that goes on email, along with those social media campaigns. And that will be all leading up to the 1st of March into those. One element that we definitely would want to lean on you guys for is the FAQs. We have some boilerplate like FAQs that we've used in other bond referendum campaigns of just explaining what a go bond is and all that kind of stuff. But you guys are definitely the ones that are out with citizens and hearing from them on a daily basis. So as we start to launch this campaign, we'll really want to have feedback from you guys to what questions you're getting, what people are stopping on the street and asking you about, so we can make sure that that is included and spelled out. Maybe we need to, reword it a little bit to make better sense. So that's definitely something we would want your all's help with. We'll also be working to finalize some talking points, just in general bullet points that would be used for staff, for you guys, for the council, just so that everybody's on the same page and has the same answers and that there's no mixed messaging. And then that will all feed into that presentation that we were discussing. So are there any questions about the actual schedule, anything like that?
I have a quick question. Would you say, because I know that you've done this in the past, would you say this is a standard timeline for going through this process? Is it more aggressive, less aggressive, or standard?
No, I would say this is a pretty good timeline. I don't think it's like too compact. We try to hit touch points. So I mean, getting stuff, if we're gonna do a mailing, like we wanna have a good 6 to 8 weeks. So we've got plenty of time for that kind of thing. There's a couple like in-person events that you guys have community-wise that Austin and I talked about that we're gonna try to have some information available at those types of larger gatherings. We're gonna look for a couple others that might be, more civic organizations, churches, or something like that in the area that we might get also put some information out there too. But no, I don't think it's too aggressive. We've had some that have stretched out much longer, and then we've had some that have been a lot shorter, to be honest. So I think it's a pretty decent timeline.
Okay, so Austin, then what we would do from here is take this schedule and we would put in what we need to do from our side.
Yeah. We'll draft our necessary documents, our FAQs, and the other things that have us listed. Yeah, we'll work our way through the schedule and making sure that we have everything on our end drafted ahead of time.
So-
Okay.
I had a couple questions too, Jared. I assume this schedule has not been overlaid with our council meetings at all to coincide what would be necessary for them to approve? Have we done that?
So we did base this off of the GO bond schedule that you guys were using with the financing consultants and everything. I guess we might need to have a little bit of discussions to see what does need to come for a final to council.
So, yeah, so
I would like to set the expectation to council that some of this stuff is gonna happen quickly once we get further into it. So how we have typically worked with a lot of municipalities is that once we get the first couple pieces, so the flyer, that's usually why we start with the flyer and those FAQ type things. Once we develop those, like, that's generally what we might see, council to agree and sign off on, and pretty much everything else is developed off of that. So we wouldn't be coming back for, I've never worked in a situation where we're coming back for like everything that's gonna be put out there is going for council, because that will significantly change the schedule. So if that's the expectation, we would need to know that.
So I'm just going to assume that this schedule is really pretty much set in stone, like there's not a whole lot of opportunity for us to amend certain dates because this is based off the timeline that we dedicated from the financial advisors and our bond counsel. Is that correct? Okay, so that being said, if you could potentially overlay what would be needed from our standpoint, you mentioned you would want us to approve those FAQs, and I would at least like for them to review kind of that generalized flyer so they can kind of understand the content that's going out there, and we understand your public engagement efforts are really going to be geared towards kind of repeating the same thing in just different format. So if we can kind of have all of that listed on the first flyer, let them review it, and it looks like 10-6 is where you have the flyer for the first draft, so we can coincide that with our most closest cancel agenda, let them review it, make final changes that day, and then from that point, we'll pretty much handle it in-house. I do think council would like to review the postcard,
Yeah.
so that may be an opportunity for us to overlay some level of review in that section on the postcard.
But I would also like to review the finalizing park amenities and/or renderings used in education campaign. That's 10/27. We have a meeting on 10/26. If we could have those a day early, and we can approve those. And then I think a lot of the other stuff we should be able to look at the November 14th meeting. Except for the finalize and print postcard. We'd need that by the 12th, if possible. Of
Yeah, I
December.
don't think that would be a problem.
Okay.
Some of these dates are a little bit flexible, I mean,
Well,
as
if,
far as stuff that's going to print and that kind of thing, so.
okay. Yeah, if we could just change a couple of those dates, like a smidge earlier, then we'll be able to look at them and approve them beforehand.
So just so I'm hearing you correctly, y'all want to review the FAQs, the postcard, the amenities section for the park, the first flyer, and that's it. Is that correct?
I would also like sooner than later to have at least a rough copy of the talking points, so it really kind of brings us up to speed and we kind of know. To me, I look at this schedule and I look at it as, for as important as it is and for the amount of money that we're asking for this, we unfortunately don't have a good track record of reaching our residents because it doesn't, again, as Joe always says, unless there's a backhoe in someone's backyard, they typically don't engage, and that's common. But this is important, and we got to have a good turnout for this. And I'd like to know that we have our talking points so that we can get out there. And the other piece of it is well, we've got to integrate in here somewhere. In my opinion, I could be wrong, but at least one gathering of people where we're talking about this. And I don't know if we have Granite come in as well and do some kind of something. I don't want to hang my hat on postcards
Jamie, what about,
unless I'm missing something.
what about putting this on with our town hall meeting? We've got 2 of them in between.
And I don't disagree with that. However, I think this is something that's important enough that we have an individualized meeting for that. So that when people come, all we're going to talk about is a GO bond.
But I think it needs to be in like February, like right before, because otherwise people are going to forget about it.
It has, yeah, and it has to be something that, again, from our standpoint, that we, inundate these neighborhoods. And again, I'm gonna always go back to this. We have to have HOA representation at our meetings. And if the HOAs don't want to show up, shame on them. They're losing out on a lot of stuff. And so HOA representation coming here, when we start talking about GO bonds, they are able to pass that on to their residents. Because again, I don't want to come up in February and have 95% of our residents go, what's a GO bond? What's a GO bond? Have no idea. Well, I'm supposed to vote on it.
So you want to do?
I will say one of the most successful things that I've seen when it comes to HOAs, and you guys have a decent, pockets of those there that are formalized, is with that presentation that we were talking about, that kind of outlines everything in more of a PowerPoint kind of format. One of the most successful things I've seen is having representatives go in and doing an educational talk directly to the individual HOAs at their meetings, so only on their turf and meeting within their meeting. I've seen that be very successful.
Well,
So
if I'm here, I sign up. I'm in. If I'm here during that time, I will more than gladly schedule with HOAs to go out there and present that.
But you guys want to do a town hall meeting in February just on the GO bond? Okay.
I say yes.
My preference would be that, but also, I'm telling you now, I'm willing to go to each of the HOAs and present to the HOAs myself, and if anyone else wants to do
I'll go
it,
with
because it's important. Because
Guys,
we get one bite of the apple at this, and we can't let this slide by.
we're probably not gonna get the HOA, the membership, but you're gonna have the board there to talk to. And I'll agree with Jamie, and I'll be glad to go too.
Well, we can also invite them to come here as a neighborhood and just say, it's not a formal meeting. If you guys want to come in and listen, we can invite 2 or 3 neighborhoods, come in, listen to us, put out the invitation. We'll see. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Joe, what do you have?
Well, I was thinking along the line of Jamie, because he and I met with some people at Coffee with Council, and trying to get to all these meetings may be impossible, but we all have HOA meetings that are around the Christmas time usually, I'm gonna say, and it's just kind of a State of the Union type for each one. They all have them around the holidays. Is there anything, or could we divide and conquer as a council, or is there anything, and a lot of times it conflicts with our meeting, but is there anything we could give or hand out or put together that they can put up on a slide or show, like, we have a lot of projections go up about all the different things. I'm just thinking out loud about, but that's coming pretty quick. That's December.
So I think Jared would likely have the first flyer and FAQs prepared by then, and you could use that to kind of model some type of presentation, which we could help in-house.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Jared said that he was gonna have some sort of PowerPoint presentation for us with bullet points and talking points. Am I wrong?
Yeah, so in the contract, we have like a template created to use for PowerPoints. I mean, we'd be more than happy to take the flyer and put it into a presentation format inside the PowerPoint.
It looks like
I was
that's
gonna
set.
show you guys a couple examples of what we had done before I let you go.
It looks like that's slated for 10/13, so he should have that ready well before.
Yeah, that would be at the beginning, yes.
I wanted to kind of summarize real quick some of the changes that I've just heard, unless y'all have any other questions about the schedule. Anybody?
Nope.
Okay, so on the 10/6 deadline of the flyer for projects, as well as the FAQs, if you could change that due date to October 2nd, that would coincide plenty of time for us to get it in our agenda packets for council to review those two items. On the 10/27 deadline of the park amenities, if you could have that to Austin by 10/26, he could go over that in a council meeting on 10/27,
The meeting, I believe, is the 26th.
So we need it the 25th.
the 25th, okay?
Sorry.
So change that to the 25th. And then on 12/12, where you have the public hearings on the bond order, if you can go ahead and have that postcard ready to have council review that at that date. I think that summarizes all of the comments and concerns they had
What date did you want the postcard?
on 12/12. Preferably having it before that meeting, but if not, on the meeting night would be fine.
You mean 11/12?
Nope.
No, 12/12.
He has it done
It's a-
the 15th of December, but our meeting's the 12th, so at least if we have it that day, we can approve it.
Are you good with all that, Jared?
Yeah, I don't think any of that should be a problem.
And then in the meantime, Austin can work on getting some HOA meetings potentially scheduled, but if y'all know any HOAs that are out there, let us know. I know somebody has a connection with the president's group, so if y'all can get with them and see if we can get some dates set for that, and then he'll schedule the town hall meeting for February. Aside from that, are there any other comments on the schedule?
Nope.
You can turn it back over to Jared.
Right. So I was just going to show you guys a couple examples. So this is for the city of Concord in Cabarrus County. When they had a bond referendum last year that they were doing that was solely focused on their parks to put in 9 new parks across the city. So we did the education campaign around that. It was one question referendum that was on the ballot for $60 million. So this is the campaign that we came up with. So the concept was our city, our parks, our future. And so with that, we developed this kind of, microsite, super simple, that just had some general information about the bonds, what this was going for. We had a page for each of the parks. So here we had like a rendering, little scroller thing that you could see kind of where the park was or where it would be, and then, the renderings from their actual planners that were planning these parks. One of the big things with this project was the equity of making sure that, these projects were being handled all over the town limits. So it wasn't just centralized in one area. So we did have this map included as to, general identifier as to where the project was. And then we had large renderings that you could open up and see from their developers group. So this is super simple. There's that FAQ section that was, what is a GO bond, those kind of things, all that kind of stuff. And we added and, edited this as needed. This was the flyer that we did for their bond education. So this was just a front and back sheet of paper, but it talked about what the new projects were, the existing parks that were going to be rehabbed, and then we try to keep the messaging as simple as possible, so you know, what will you get? So here's what they're getting out of this. And then on the back, we had, you know, how the money was being spent, how the allocations were from amenities versus infrastructure, and then what types of amenities where that money was going. And then where we came up with this, you know, how we came to this project to spend $60 million. So this was all from the public input and that sort of thing. And then how, you know, the tax impact of breaking it down in its simplest form. I'm gonna show you another example of that in a second. We did some large signs at their parks that were like 4x8 that were out there that kind of on site to just, you know, this is a planned location for this park kind of thing, with the different amenities. And we tracked all this with QR codes to see, you know, who was going to the site to get more information, and then a reminder to vote. Then we also had, for some of the parks, we had these other general large signs that were like on the road, just to drive people to the website to learn more. We had these general signs, and we do have these proposed for you guys to do some just general get out to vote type sign as a reminder, that we have got included in here. I want to.
Hey, Jared, real quick, this is Christina. I do want to make sure we're kind of level setting expectations with our board here. I know Concord was much further along in terms of their planning and engineering documents, estimates, kind of visual aesthetics. What can we expect to see out of what you've just presented that applies to us?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to be a little bit more creative when it comes to the lack of conceptuals and stuff, but I think you guys have enough of the idea that we can utilize some of that. It's just explaining it a little bit more that these are more conceptual ideas. I think more of the education that we're gonna have to really dive into is explaining your road projects in their simplest form. And so this, you know, Concord's projects, if I go back to fire, like this is very pretty and it's very colorful because these are all park projects, yes, and they're pretty and colorful. So it's gonna be a little bit more serious for your all stuff and not beautiful renderings, but I think there's still a lot that we can work with of setting that expectation. As far as the website goes, I don't see big issues with being pretty similar to something like that. And the signage, I think, could be similar as well. Do you have a specific question?
Yeah, I do. This looks presented really well, the way this was. So I'm just kind of curious, how did the vote go out?
So Concord had a 66% approval for their referendum, with the one question on the ballot.
Ask a question, Jared?
Yes.
It's Mayor Polino. Is there any way, like I saw when you were clicking on things, if there was a question and a way to answer it, is there any way we can get this actual thing so we can kind of be prepared? Like, I'd like to look at what kind of questions were asked and then how were they answered. And just for my own purposes is like when you know, what is a bond referendum? That's a perfect question, which some may not know, and how you describe it and stuff, and because you're asking us to get the stuff back to you, all those Q&As.
Well, so a lot of these are like what I would say are more canned questions that we would definitely like incorporate in already. What I'm asking you guys is when your neighbor stops you and they heard about the bond and they're asking, you know, well, what is this money really going to? Or, you know, when they're really diving in or not understanding something, we want to make sure that we're getting that feedback from you guys so that we can make sure it's addressed or if something is confusing, that we're addressing it to make it not confusing.
And I personally want to give them the elevator pitch unless they're willing to spend time, come in, talk to us, coffee with council, or in our meetings, seeing them there. But, you know, there's got to be like a quick little elevator pitch, because it could get, you know, especially when we're out campaigning. Well, I'm going to be behind this, and I'm going to be campaigning, and, you know, you only hit so many things, but this is something that I'm really behind, because I think it's needed. I've been told that for the longest time. It's just be great to have a little, to your point, whether it's a postcard or something that you can do a quick elevator pitch to, so.
Yeah, so we do have a voter information card too that we've got proposed in the schedule. So that would definitely be like the most simplified, like elevator pitch version of all of this. So we can look at the schedule and make sure that that's there in time. But the talking points that we'll give you will definitely provide a lot of that. I will say this right now. I don't know, Christina Austin, how much has been conveyed from the attorneys to council of what can and can't be said. So we do just need to make sure that from the legal perspective that council is aware of what is able to be said and not said about this project.
Meaning, like, we can't have signs that say vote yes. It's just get out and vote, there's the bond, correct? We,
Right,
as individuals and as council, can say we're in favor of it, but we can't advertise. I mean, I could be at the polls and, correct?
We
I'm looking-
basically can't spend public resources to
Correct,
influence a vote.
right.
Yeah, and you've got to be careful when you're here at an official council meeting, because then you're using the FISC or the resources of the village to promote either the, overall, you're still going to be doing that individually.
Yeah, but we've voted yes to go forward with this, so how can we not talk about it? I mean,
Well,
that may be one of the sillier things I've ever heard.
It is kind of silly, and the way y'all talk about it is y'all be educating people
Right,
about it.
okay.
Yeah,
So,
and that's if you want to have the public hall meeting there at, for the citizens to come, and you guys are speaking as council, like that definitely has to be an education, piece of educating them about the specifics of the bond.
which they should
Not
obviously
taking
know
a
that we're
stance.
for it, because we're putting it out there. If we weren't for it, we wouldn't put it out there. Okay, yeah, we're good. We got it, we're good.
It's one of the
Bond
silly,
education
it's
is a
a,
very gray area.
It is, we've had that conversation. We're
it's a
good.
broad rule that's good in other situations, but in this one, it's
Yeah.
a little odd.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
So Chaplain, correct me if I'm wrong then. If I'm out just walking, knocking on doors or talking to things, and I'm holding a little postcard that I hand out, but that was funded by the village, I really can't do that.
That's just, you're educating them that we're having a bond, that a bond is going to be on there. Here's the information. Now, hi, me, Joe, I'm for this, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
The informational flyer that is used, I mean, if you look at the example, it shows the benefits in an educational format, but it doesn't say vote yes.
And
So,
everything that we will provide to you will be like that. Now, if you had a civic organization that was coming out in support of the bonds and they wanted to purchase signs that say vote yes on this bond referendum, then they can spend their money and they can educate people and do that.
okay. So, go ahead.
I don't know if people understand, this is a simple majority, right? 51% of the people that vote
Yep.
pass this. If we have 600 people and 301 of them vote for it, then it goes. And if anybody here, if you have a need for roads or anything, then you need to go out and talk to everybody you know.
Right. It's a majority vote, and a lot of it is about getting people out and getting the word out.
Which is,
We have about 10%.
but this is why we picked this specific.
think they need to know that.
Election, yeah.
One vote really counts in this,
Yeah,
if this is something that you want.
that's why we've got to get out the word. Okay, so with that being said, Jared, I heard you say that you know that we have some large events coming up that you're planning on having some information. The only ones that I can think of are going to be between now and the December holidays. We really don't have anything in January, February, March. So are we going to have information to hand out, educational information to hand out?
We discussed like 2 events, I believe. I can't find that note right off the top of my head.
That's
But,
what, I was just wondering which events you were referring to.
It was tree lighting.
the
and
tree
the
lighting and trick-or-treating events.
Yeah, so obviously, you know, end of October. I'm just wondering what we're gonna have by the end of October that we can hand out.
Well, you will have those flyers and FAQs to review and approve at 10/2, so he should be able to spit that back out within the next couple of days. So I would say by early to mid-October.
Okay, so the
you'll have-
flyers.
yeah.
Okay, all right. I was just confirming that. Okay. Thank you.
And one thing we do want to make sure that when you're having conversations, if you are going to go in and meet with HOA, you don't want to do it too soon, because if you did it next month or the beginning of October or something, it's going to be out of sight, out of mind by the time March rolls around and they're actually going out to vote. So you do have to be a little strategic about that, not hitting things too soon. So just something to consider. I want to show you one other example real quick, but this was for the town of Garner, North Carolina. They had 4 pond referendums that went on the ballot at the same time. So they were on roads, parks and rec, public safety, and stormwater. So we kind of developed this brand that kind of had a little icon for each one of them. The website went into each in depth of what the different aspects of it were, but super high level. Again, we had a FAQ section that kind of explained kind of those boilerplate things. This was a much simpler campaign, so we did this kind of postcard, and I would envision the postcard that we do for you guys, the mailer, will be very simplistic, something similar to this, that is just super high level, simple, but to the bones of it. And then we had a proper brochure that we did that they gave out and used at all their different events that, again, just broke down those 4 different areas. And then we had some general yard signs that they used to remind people to vote. This campaign was super successful. They had 75 to 82% approval of their referendum, so that was a very good campaign. And it was almost $70 million between the 4 referendum items.
Jared, are these websites still live so that our board can go and actually look at these?
So that's what I was gonna say. So yes, both of these sites are still live, and I can send you guys the link and that you can distribute out to both of them. I meant to tell the mayor that a moment ago when he was asking about going through those questions.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Thank you.
Jared, they're just garnerbonds.com and concordbonds.com, correct?
Correct, both with an S. So those are all the examples that I really wanted to show you guys. I wanted to do one last thing that was getting out of here and into PowerPoint. So this was kind of an example of the PowerPoint template that we did, and that basically took a lot. For Concord specifically, they had a big study that was about comparing where they ranked for Parks and Rec for a town their size. So we're not gonna have anything like that, but one thing that I wanted to show you that was a little bit different was kind of how we broke down the tax impact. This was very effective for them, and we talked to your staff a little bit about how we could do this, but we basically broke this down all the way to like a monthly impact to give them an example of, this is how it's gonna affect their pocketbook. But yeah, so this has all the information from the flyer and, the different elements of the website going into each of the parks and talking about, amenities. But that was the last thing that I wanted to show you guys. Is there any other questions for me, or?
Does anybody have any questions for Jared? Nope. Joe, you good? Okay. All right, Jared, thank you very much for that. We are very much looking forward to seeing what you guys have for us, so thank you very much. And I know you and Austin will be chatting, so we look forward to seeing some flyers in about a month.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared.
Okay, next up, reports and updates. First up, manager's report. Christina.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So I did email you guys, I think last week, and let you know that we unfortunately did not obtain the Part F grant that we applied for. To a positive note, we are getting a hold of the scoring rubric so we can really see where we went wrong and try to make things better for a submittal in next year. I'm also trying to get a quote from McAdams to see, hopefully they would honor some level of discount for obviously not being successful and resubmitting. So I'm still working on getting that quote. I'll bring it back to you at a subsequent meeting. But the biggest picture for us is just looking at where we failed, how we can improve for the next submittal, and hopefully we'll get that awarded. Anybody have any questions on that?
Nope.
And then piggybacking off of the presentation you just saw for the GO bonds, there's a couple of things I wanted to mention to you all. I did send you an email today with some information that will be put into the work session. There's a lot of topics for the GO bonds to be discussed at our work session. There's a lot of questions that you all had in terms of the roads and certain implications on funding sources for roads. That's all in an email sent to you. I sent it in advance because it is very confusing. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about it here because we're going to talk about it at the work session, but I did send it in advance to have time for you to absorb the information. And if you need to meet with me individually to discuss specific funding questions or certain projects that you have in mind, we've got plenty of time to do that. I did want to summarize, after the last meeting, we did talk about private roads and doing an assessment on private roads if those property owners were willing to pay for that. We did go back to the financial advisors and discuss the financial implications to have a net zero impact, since we are recouping that fund within a certain defined period. In order for us to make it work to have zero financial impact on the GO bonds, but still include it in the total number, we basically bumped the total project cost for roads up to $15.35 million. Initially, it was just shy of 14 million. Yeah, 14.9. So we bumped it up about $600,000. Actually, it's a little bit less than that. We bumped it up $600,000, where we basically took the private roads totals that AMT gave us a few years back and deducted what currently we understand to be those roads that are currently being done now. So that gave us a net impact of around $600,000. So that's where we came up with that $600,000 number. The total financial impact of the taxes were unimpacted. So we're still at fiscal year 26 at 4.75 and fiscal year 29 at an additional 2.75 for a total of 7.5 cents. We would still do 2 tranches, and we would have to create the road policy to have a 5-year payback. So we wouldn't allow anything more than 5 years. Statutes allow up to 10 years, but we would have to do a 5-year payback based on not impacting the financial model. Any questions on that? Did I lose y'all?
Yep. Good.
And I did include the road project summary in your agendas, so you can kind of look at those road projects one more time, and you also see those private roads in there at $620,000. And I also included the visual of the transportation trails that are highlighted in an overlay of purple, so you can review that one last time. And that's all I have on GO bonds. Any questions? And then the last thing, this is really just for an update for you all. At the last council meeting, y'all approved the playground replacement at Marvin Eford Park not to exceed $438,000. If you recall, we had earmarked $300,000 in Part F, we had earmarked $300,000 in ARPA funding. So obviously, we have a $138,000 deficit we would have to come up with. And I went back to the drawing board with the vendor to replace out those borders. There's an example provided in your agenda packets of a rubber border that we have approved. That gave us a net deduction of around $15,000, so we're still shy $115,000 that we'd have to come up with. If you recall, about 2 years ago, we received a $500,000 appropriation from our legislator for park projects. That money has to be spent by June of 2024. So pending the news that we did not get the Part F grant, I'm assuming we should just take it from that legislative money, and we won't have to do a budget amendment from fund balance. So if y'all are okay with that, that's what we're going to do. And then we need to work over the next couple of months to figure out how we're going to spend the rest of that money before we have to send it back to the legislator's office.
Okay.
Any questions, comments, concerns? So we'll move forward with getting those agreements in place. Chaplain's working on those as we speak. We should be able to get the project, at least the material ordered, and then we have advised the vendor not to start until after our tree lighting festival. So we're looking to close the park around mid-December and hopefully reopen back mid to end January pending weather. Any questions? The only other thing I will mention is we did take out the concrete work that was involved with the park. So we can come back later after it's installed and see if we want to have any type of connectivity. If we do, we can add that in with the leftover money that we saved. So we can always come back for that. We'll just wait and see how it goes. That's all.
All right. Any questions for Christina? All right, moving right along. Planners report. Hunter.
Just have a few items to update you guys on. First being the Winmore bond. That we are finalizing the agreement with the HOA. We hope to have that signed. We basically gave them a hard deadline by the end of October, but we should have it probably signed in the next month to then have those outstanding items completed. Second item being Marvin Loop. We did get back the contract and stuff, everything from Dewberry. I'm going to be submitting that to NCDOT for review. Once all that's approved, and they're basically authorized to, start developing plans and everything for that. And the final thing is that we have an intern. Palomi, she started with us last Tuesday. She's a Marvin resident. She lives over in the Preserve, but she's been helping myself, Tyler, and Austin out, kind of learning the ins and outs of local government, planning stuff. She has an architect and design type background, but also she's, been really helpful with social media and publication type stuff. So if you haven't met her, she's here in the office 10 to 2. She's set up there in the front conference room. So you get a chance to stop by and say hey.
All right, very good. Welcome.
Welcome.
Glad you're here. Hunter, anything else? Good?
That's all, unless you guys have any questions on anything.
Any questions? Nope. All right, moving right along. Rose report. Christina. Oh, soon we won't be able to say Christina, will we?
I don't have anything.
Okay. All right. Good talk. Next up, deputies report. Come on down, sir.
Good evening, council.
Good
Good
evening.
seeing everybody here tonight. August, we had a total of 716 calls for service. We did have 2 vehicle break-in and enterings, and then 1 residential B&E. Our traffic stops were at 95. Also this month, we've had a lot of complaints about people speeding throughout the village of Marvin. So I decided to do a speed campaign. August the 17th, I got approximately 20 deputies to come down to the village of Marvin. We went out all throughout Marvin, and we ended up writing speeding tickets. We wrote approximately 160 charges and also ended up serving 1 warrant within that speed campaign. I'm going to try to do this as a monthly thing for the village, see if I can get as much help as I possibly can to kind of curb some of the speeding and complaints that we've got in the village.
Very good, thank you. It's a good thing Joe was out of town then.
Do y'all have any
He
questions?
resembles that remark.
Anything else for me?
No. We're
Thanks.
good. Thanks, Tommy. Be safe.
Tommy.
All right, next up, Planning Board report. Mr. Mark Elise.
For the record, I was not out of town, but my wife did tell me.
Slow down, Joe.
I was not able to attend that planning board, but I was hoping to serve on.
Well, while Hunter's there, I'll take it. The only two things the board discussed was the SUP up for discussion tonight during the public hearing and the MDO project.
And when do we start getting involved in that project?
Now.
Now,
Now.
if you can't be,
Next
be here, watch it on YouTube,
Now,
preferably when we're live, but if you can't watch it while we're live, watch it later and then ask questions.
and what's the projected time frame to get that wrapped up?
The UDO project? Well, this is the 6th meeting, and per the quote and everything, it's like 12 meetings, so we're a little over, I would say, halfway. And that 12th meeting is essentially the council public hearing. So I think that the final draft of the ordinance will probably be done maybe around December. And then between January and February, we'll do a call for public hearing and then have it adopted, between February and April. The end timeline is definitely by April, but we're kind of moving along. Planning board's grasping it and making really good progress, so.
So are they usually doing the UDO stuff in their regular meeting, or are they recessing it to Thursday?
We were recessing just because we did have some other normal planning board business, if it was development submittals, the rezoning, all that other stuff. Right now, like this month, for example, it's just the only thing on the agenda, so it'd be their regular scheduled meeting.
Okay.
And most likely moving forward, it should be their regular scheduled meeting, because unless I receive, for example, like the Heritage subdivision, like construction documents, like that might be the only thing that.
Because I would like to be here in person for
Yeah.
those, just to,
And I can keep you guys up to date, but right now, this month, it's next Tuesday on their regular meeting, and if it does get recessed, I can give you guys a heads up.
okay, that would be great, because I'm planning on, it's on my calendar to come next week, so, okay.
And I'll get your guys' binders. We have them, I just need to get everything printed out, put in, and then you guys can have a physical copy as well.
Okay, that'd be good. All right. Fantastic. Next up, PRNG Board Report. That's me. We didn't have a meeting, so I don't have anything for you. Next up, Event Planning Report. Tyler, you're up.
October 27th, trick or treat event is happening, 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. We'll be having trick or treating at the park. We're working on compiling our list of vendors right now, just basically waiting on people to keep signing up. When the trick or treating portion concludes at 7, we'll start a movie. We'll be playing Hotel Transylvania, the new one. And that'll run till about 9. Brew and Q, November 18th. It'll be from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. If you're interested in cooking, supply your own charcoal grill, gas grill, smoker, bring it out. Gates will open at the park for the competitors at 5 o'clock on Friday, November 17th to start cooking. We'll pick up the meat here that we will provide from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock.
So wait, what time's the event? I thought we were doing 3 to 6.
That's what I thought was.
Yeah, but if it gets dark, it's going to be, since it's later in November. Just figured we want to stop it at 5 just for the sake of
Okay,
falling dark.
okay. I'll be late to that event that day.
You'll be what?
I'll be late. Okay,
Yeah, I'll be late too.
all right.
I'll be first in line, thank you.
You will.
We can do it from 3 to 6, but once it starts getting that late in November, it's going to start darkening off a little earlier.
Isn't Spring Forward, when's our Spring Forward? Isn't that the 19th?
Isn't it that morning?
Fall
Or
back,
fall back.
Spring Forward?
Yeah, fall back,
Shoot,
fall
okay,
back.
whatever, all right.
That's right.
I thought we were getting rid of that anyway. Okay, keep going, sorry, Tyler.
Very good. Lastly, we'll talk about Marvin Day coming up. At this next work session, you'll be getting a lot of information about our marketing campaign for this. That's going to be going out. Jill is coming up with a great plan for this work session for all of us. We're going to talk to the council about ways to basically go out and get these sponsorships. We're going to hit the ground running, hit it hard on these after this work session. Also, something to think about for Marvin Day is pretty much all the vendors that I've come in contact with and signed are up about 10 to 15% in their prices. And we are currently pretty close to our projected total. So when it comes to sponsorships and donations, we're going to hit it hard and go past our goal and probably set a goal about $10,000 higher than initially. That's all I got.
Very good. Yes, everybody get your work session pants on for the work session because we're going to do a lot of work, so just saying. Okay, next up, consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Further discussion? All's in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next up, public hearing. Oh. All right. Yeah, I know we talked about this. I know we talked about this. I need a don't need a motion to open it. That's right. That's what we talked about. Okay. Oh, yeah. So, sorry. So we're doing a public hearing to discuss and consider special use permit application SUP 2023-3 for a pool to be located outside the setbacks per ordinance 151.054E located at 206 Claridge Court as, Yep, that's it. Okay.
That's
Good.
what I was gonna
Sorry, I was
state.
getting
This is, it seems formal, but anybody that's gonna be speaking needs to be sworn in because it is quasi judicial.
Got it. Okay, so we're going to swear in Hunter.
Solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give during this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
All right. I'm going to turn it over to Hunter.
All right, council, I have a memo in your packets, but I've also prepared a presentation. The village has received a special use permit application for a pool to be located out the setbacks, located at 206 Claridge Court. That location is in the Belgrove subdivision. They're off of the cul-de-sac in Claridge. The applicant and property owners is Mr. Jeremy and Mrs. Danielle Maxon. Their request is once again for a special use to allow for a swimming pool to encroach into the rear yard setbacks per 151.054E2. The property is 0.587 acres. So getting into the request, this lot, in short, when it was platted, it abuts a 285-foot view shed buffer. The rear line setbacks on the final plat actually are the property line. Chap and I had this discussion when Empire was actually developing this lot. When they scaled back the plat and for their house pad, it didn't work to an extent. So we, per Chaplin's recommendation we still had to honor that, this plat was approved by the village and recorded, that they still had to comply with all other applicable ordinance regulations, including setback, minimum lot size, minimum lot width. To get that minimum lot width, the developer had to push that house back, so then that house only sits 25 feet technically off the rear property line of 206, but like I said, it does abut a 285-foot view shed buffer. So the request is for a 15.5 by 35 pool. It's going to be located there in the rear yard. It's being proposed to be 5 feet off the rear property line. And then it would still then comply with all, side setbacks. It would also additionally comply with the pool equipment setback, which would be 20 feet from rear and side because the pool equipment would be up there behind the house or by the house and the deck. So here's just some overviews of the renderings provided by the applicant. Once again, it shows their deck is roughly 25 feet, 2 inches off the rear property line. The pool will set about 4 feet off the edge of deck. The pool then will sit about 5 feet off the rear property line. And there's just kind of the dimensions and overview of the pool. So getting into existing conditions, the subject property is 206 Claridge Court. The photo there on the left is kind of looking at it from the cul-de-sac. The pool will basically be In the rear yard to the left, as you can see, there's some existing vegetation there that pretty much screens it from the road as is. Some more additional photos. The top left there is from the driveway of 206 looking to the east, which is 208 Claridge Court. The top right is then looking west, which is in 202 Claridge Court. And the bottom is then looking across the cul-de-sac at 205 and 209 Claridge Court. These photos are then in the backyard. As you can, the top picture is the proposed location of the pool looking west towards the rear yard of 202 Claridge Court. And the bottom picture is looking east towards 208 Claridge Court. Once again, these are just some final photos of kind of the proposed location of the pool. You can kind of see some stakes there identified in that top left photo. The bottom right photo is the right stake is the property line, and the left stake is the where the edge of the pool would be 5 feet off. And then the bottom left photo is kind of basically the edge of the pool looking back towards Claridge. As you can see, once again, the way this lot's kind of shaped, there's existing vegetation, so this would not be seen from the main road. Surrounding land use and zoning, the property is zoned R Marvin Residential. Once again, the R Marvin Residential is established to provide for residential development at low densities consistent with the rural character of the village. As already mentioned, the property is located in cul-de-sac of Claridge Court in the Belgrove subdivision. The surrounding land use and zoning, it's all surrounded by residential. And then there on the south side of the property is the 285-foot common open space / view shed buffer that is owned and maintained by the Belgrove Homeowners Association. The R Marvin residential lot characteristics, as mentioned, the front setback's 50, side setback's 20, rear setback's 40, the minimum lot width's 130 feet from the building front. Once again, the house was pushed back to comply with all those outside of the rear setback just because of the way the lot was platted. So getting into review and discussion, this is a special use permit application. This process does allow for the Planning Board and Village Council to review and approve specific uses that are in keeping with the intent and purpose of the zoning district but may have substantial impacts on the surrounding area. This process does allow for conditions or restrictions to be placed on an approval that would minimize the impacts of the surrounding area. So in our ordinance, the setbacks for pool from water's edge is 15 feet from rear and side. For the decking, it's 10 feet rear and side. And then in that subsection clause 2, it says in all other situations, swimming pool locations shall be subject to specific approval for of a special use permit. That is what this applicant is seeking. Furthermore, the lot is restricted to how it was originally developed due to the final plat being inaccurate. To meet the requirements of the ordinance, the developer had to push the house back, leaving the dwelling roughly 25 feet off the rear property line. The proposed swimming pools is to be 5.5 feet off the rear property line and would comply with the minimum 15 feet off the side property lines. Pool equipment would also comply with the minimum setbacks in 151.054. The property abuts that fully wooded 285-foot existing view shed buffer, and the proposed pool would be adequately screened from the main road and the adjoining property owners. The applicant will still have to, will also need to add additional screening if required to comply with the ordinance, i.e. screening on maybe the west side towards 202 Claridge Court. The applicant will not disturb or remove any of the trees in the common open space buffer. Some limbs will need to be cleaned that are overhanging, but no trees will be removed that are not on the property. And then all, per the special use, all adjoining property owners were mailed on 8/31, and a public hearing sign was posted at the property. So with this being a special use, council, you are reviewing and doing a findings of fact. The findings of fact are, 1, the use will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where the proposed development according to plan. Staff does find that this would comply with this. 2, the use meets all required conditions and specifications. Staff finds that it complies. 3, the use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, or the use is a public necessity. Staff finds that this would comply. for the location and character of the use, if developed according to the plan as submitted and approved, will be in harmony with the area in which it is located and will be in general conformity with the chapter in the village land use plan. Staff additionally finds that this complies. And then the fifth one is that if there's any additional review criteria for pools that are outside of setbacks, there's not. I mean, like I said, there are additional requirements for pools, including fencing and screening, that the applicant would still have to comply with. So recommendation, staff does recommend approval of this special use permit. This request is consistent with the intent of the Village of Marvin zoning ordinance and the adopted land use plan. That's a typo. And is reasonable and is in the public interest. The planning board also reviewed and discussed and recommended approval at their August 22nd meeting. With that being said, is there any questions from council? And the applicant is here if he wants to be sworn in and say anything. If not, then we'll leave it at that. Do we have anybody sign up?
I was going to say, while they're thinking, I would like for the record, if you'd state if you received any opposition.
I have not. I was going to ask that.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. None. Any
I've not received
response?
any opposition, and we do not have anybody signed up for
To speak?
this public hearing,
Okay.
unless there's anybody that wants to speak.
Okay. All right, any questions for Hunter or the applicant? Nope.
I don't.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the special use permit application, SUP 2023-3, for a pool to be located outside the setbacks per 151-054E, located at 206 Claridge Court as presented, and find that the request is consistent with the Village of Marvin 2020 land use plan and other officially adopted village plans, and is reasonable and in the public interest, are consistent with surrounding uses and zoning.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Congratulations, enjoy your pool. All right, next up, Village Hall. Christina? Nothing? Nope, okay. Next up, unfinished business. Number 1, discussion of athletic and multipurpose fields. Councilman Wortman. Giddy up, Buttercup.
I can do that if
You
want
got
me
it.
to.
You know it.
I don't know, I don't have anything on this.
So Councilmember Wortman had some conversation with, I think, Waxaw and maybe someone else, and we've invited them to our first work study.
Jesus, all right, I'm sorry, I'm like, what?
Okay, hold on, let me try it again.
I was confused, give me a
Hold on,
second.
hold on, ready? Hold on, ready? Councilman Wortman, this one's yours.
This one is mine.
You got it?
All right, so there, I had a discussion, a very preliminary discussion with a member of Waxhaw that there may be an opportunity for us to have a joint interest in a 34-acre plat that could be used for athletic fields. So it's very high level, just some passing discussions, but we will be having a meeting on the 20th. Am I correct on that, Christina, the 20th? Yeah. So with this committee and a couple of members of Waxhaw. Working group, okay, excuse me. So a couple of members from Waxhaw have been invited to attend to have a discussion to get started on discussions that may lead to some promising coalition between the two municipalities to make something really cool for not only Marvin residents, but also for Waxhaw residents. So this could be the beginning of something really cool. So I'm excited for it. Excuse me for being confused as to the title of what it was, but.
Where's it located?
On Waxhaw Marvin Road, in Waxhaw, but on our end.
Yeah.
So,
Just past Providence Estates in Valhalla.
yeah, yep.
Okay,
On Waxhaw
okay.
Marvin.
So it's in a pretty convenient between the two.
Right,
So it'd be on the right-hand side.
going into Waxhaw.
Yeah, so yes, it's encouraging, and we'll see how things play out, but
Is that something we can, Christina, is that something we can, if we were to push this forward, I'm just saying hypothetically, is that something we could go to the county and the state and federal to get any kind of funds for?
We could definitely try. Whether or not there's funding available is a different story, but we could definitely try. I think one of the things that some of the participants in this work study are interested in pursuing is a public-private partnership. So we'll see what kind of ideas they have. And I do have an update for you all scheduled at the work session after that meeting, so we'll hopefully have a little bit more of information as to what we're looking for and what they're looking for as well, and how they can help.
Good, okay, good.
I'm okay now.
Okay, good, all right, just checking.
You say it's time for bed.
Just checking, all right. All right, next up, number 2, consider approval of termination of the Tom Short Landscape Maintenance Agreement with Tullamore. So I pulled this off of the consent agenda because they had some changes that they are requesting. I mean, I don't know how much more clear I could have said it, that I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm done. I don't want to talk about it. If you guys want to make the changes, you guys can vote on it. But for me, we gave them basically everything that they wanted and then some. And now they're coming back with, what's the wording? I don't have it right in front of me.
They wanted the vegetation, I think that was if installed a few times, and then they wanted the name of Tom Short Road to Tom Short Road Extension, and they wanted the new sentence we put in, they thought it would fit better after the third sentence in the paragraph as opposed to the second.
So they want if installed added to this, meaning they think that we're going to go in and plant plants after the fact, and they don't want to have to take care of those. We haven't planted any plants over there. Again, for me, I think I made myself very clear that I did not want to talk about this. Again, I didn't want to see it on an agenda again, except to approve it. These changes may seem minor, but to me they're not, because we spent so much time specifically on this one section that I'm not willing to make those changes. If you guys are, all good, but I'm not.
Real quick, as I'm reading this, I think it's if they install the plant material, they would replace it. Is that how you're reading it?
Yeah, it's just kind of strange, because if it's not installed, it's not there, but.
Basically, they should take care of what is there. Period. It doesn't need to be so specific to say that. If somebody wants to make a motion to approve this the way that they've changed it, or if we want to stick with what we were very happy with 3 weeks ago, then I'm fine with it. And we can tell them that we're not making any additional changes. It's up to you guys. I'm not making that motion, though. And I'll vote no for it. I'm just letting you know.
It was, well, I'll go ahead and speak. I felt like at the end of that meeting, we had a clear course with exactly what we had laid out. All 3 parties agreed with the two different contracts. And I'm going to side with Kim on this. We made it very clear that this was the final draft. This was what we were going to do. Anything outside of clerical or spelling errors, I think that's it. And we made it clear. And everybody was happy when we left the room. So coming back with more changes, I feel like is outside of what we agreed on, and I'm inclined not to make any changes.
One point I really wanted to make real quick that I should have made earlier is Amber Meadows has also, if y'all approve Tullamore, Amber Meadows is also requesting the same changes. If not, they're okay with how it's been approved already. But I just wanted to let you know that we would have that point to have to go back and change that one as well. Just FYI.
No, I feel the same way as Councilman Wortman and Councilman Vandenberg. I'm done. You know, there's no need to discuss this.
You are. Yeah, you are. This is
What
Tullamore.
This is Tullamore, doesn't have anything to do with you.
I think we've dusted this
Yeah.
table.
We're
enough.
not inclined to make these changes. You can take that back to Tullamore and let them
Yeah,
go from there.
So we still need a motion to approve without the red line changes?
With any minor grammatical modifications.
You want that one?
It's similar to the language that Amber Meadows was approved with on the consent agenda.
Okay.
Just so if we found some minor, but
Okay.
we're not rewording the landscape that's been taken care of.
I got it. So I need a motion to approve termination of Tom Short Landscape Maintenance Agreement, previously recorded 10/8/15, Book 6544, page 662, and revised maintenance plan and maintenance agreement for Tullamore, previously recorded 12/30/13, Book 6157, page 714, and authorized manager to execute agreements contingent upon attorney review and correction for minor changes, not changing the redlined items in section 4.
So moved.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Moving on, new business, discussion of coffee with council events. Whoop, whoop. Who's ready to get your calendars out?
This should be pretty quick. So we have one less event in the final quarter of the year. October 5th, Thursday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Who wants to sign up?
Hold on, who's got the next one? Oh, Bob and Jamie are up, okay. October 5th. I'll take it. It's in the morning, I got it. That's me, me.
I can do it.
Yay, come on, Bob.
Okay. The one you guys had scheduled one for October 24th, but we've since scheduled a town hall meeting for that night, so we can just nix that one. Thursday, November 2nd, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Who wants to sign up? Wayne? And
I can't do it.
I'll do it.
Jamie? Okay.
That's November 2nd, right?
Tuesday, yes, that is that. Tuesday, November 28th, 6 to 7 p.m. That's the Kids with Council event, so you all
I want to be here.
I'll be here.
You all should be here for that, so we don't need to sign up for that one.
Last year, we had everybody showed up.
Nope, not me, I wasn't here. It was Jason's birthday. I was the only
Are we
one.
gonna do the same then, to try to have as many people as possible?
Yeah, all of council.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Lastly is Thursday, December 7th, 10 to 11 a.m.
I can do it. Come on, who wants to do it with me?
I'll do it.
Oh, don't all raise your
dear.
hands all at once. It's fine.
Kim and Joe.
I'll do it.
Joey, me and you?
On the 7th?
Yep, at 10.
Oh. When is the tree lighting again?
Saturday, the 9th.
Yeah, I think I'm not gonna be here for that. So you get to light it up again.
Oh, hot dog.
But
Okay.
I don't know if I'm gone the 7th or not, so I can't.
All right, Wayne said he wants to do it. He's raising his hand. He's gonna do it with me.
All right, Kim and Wayne.
Okay. Yay. All right, thank you very much.
I'll be a backup for all of you.
Okay, thanks, Joey. All right,
You guys will get calendar invites from me.
thank you. All right, next up, discussion and consideration for the Belgrove subdivision road acceptance petition. Hunter, you're up.
Okay, so the next two agenda items are basically go hand in hand. First being the process of the road acceptance to take over and assume maintenance of the roads from the developer. The village has been out there multiple times to inspect. Our engineer has submitted a letter recommending approval that they are compliant with our standards. Some of the concerns that were brought up regarding, I know that some of council received an email, it was either last week or 2 weeks ago, about a hole in the road. The developer did go ahead and fix that. I will mention that we walked that neighborhood probably once a week, if not every 2 weeks, since they paved, and that hole was done by most likely a property owner's contractor. They still did fix it. Some of the other issues brought up with the other holes, I'm not sure that where those are. So it is being recommended that we still do accept the roads, and I'll kind of, that just with the bond release contingency that we go through, do another walkthrough with the shoulder vegetation plantings and all that be done, on top of any that the wire that was addressed be cut out, and then any other minor fixes be addressed. If all this is addressed before October 1st, then we can release the bond. If not, then it would be back on the October 11th agenda.
And I will be updating your motion for the next item accordingly.
Yeah, these are tied together. You could go ahead, if you want to, you could go ahead and accept the roads, but the bond would continue because the bond's 105,000, I think, 110,000. You would release the bond contingent upon meeting the checklists of 2 or 3 things that are set forth to address some of the concerns. Or you can delay everything if you're disinclined.
Do I want to accept the roads without, do I want to make a motion to accept the roads and then do it with the changes for the bond, or do I want to accept the roads on the conditions that they are fixed the way that we want them to be?
Well, with the roads, they're either going to be public roads or they're not. They're going to be municipal roads, so I think you can't halfway do that. And I think that's more of a legislative decision, but with the release of the bonds, I think you can make a vote on that and delegate that authority cleaner, if that makes sense, because road acceptance is always a legislative function. Well, you tie the two together, but you could go ahead and accept the roads, but you would keep the bond in place of over 100,000 to fix any errors, fix any problems.
What he's basically saying is if you accept the roads as they are now, but then when you release the bond and make a contingency on it, if they don't do what's listed in that contingency, we can not release the bond and therefore fix the roads with that money. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And our engineer is here if you wanted to add anything, but like I said, he's himself, myself, one of us, if not both of us, or somebody from AMT has been out there. They paved in what, June, July?
Yeah, it was, we did our final walkthrough in July 26th.
You got to get close to it, though.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I just want to make sure it was on. Go ahead.
No, we did our final walkthrough July 26th of this year. And when we looked over everything, the road was, acceptable condition. So some of these items that come up with the divots and the holes, they weren't there during our walkthrough. But I know the developer still come out and fixed one of them that was there last week. And then the wire that was mentioned in our walkthrough and the seating, I talked to Hunter about this week.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to say, I received a couple of emails with some pictures attached to it that I wanted to make sure were getting addressed, but it also looked like it may have been done after the walkthrough, so that's what we're referring to that has been fixed
Yeah, the one hole that
since then?
you and the mayor received an email on, including myself and Christina, I think this was last week, that has already been fixed. A representative from AMT was out there at the time, inspected to make sure it was done correctly, and it was. And I know some of the other issues talked about, like, the crumbling and stuff. Part of that's just because there is no curb and gutter out there. It's not like and correct me on this, but the road's not felling. It's just loose asphalt from where, the shoulder and stuff don't, line up, just because there is no curb and gutter where it'd be kind of a flush road. But it has been inspected and everything is structurally sound and still being recommended to be accepted.
That's correct.
So,
Hunter, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
If our engineers right now were to go out, you know how they ranked and rated all of them? Did they give you an idea of what they would currently be rated at?
Yeah, it would be an acceptable road. There's no cracks, there's nothing structurally wrong with it.
But in fairness, we go to take over roads in the past, there were some roads that were at 70%, 80%, whatever that number was, that threshold. Is there anything like that was rated on this?
No, because it was new construction. I mean, you don't rate newly built roads.
So Joe, basically, it would be a 100 because
Yeah.
it's brand new, if you're using that scale that you're referring to, because it was just paved.
So one of the things that we have is a spec manual, and one of the requirements for any developer is to be compliant with that spec manual, which requires core sampling. All
Yeah.
that was done, everything's compliance with
Yeah, all
the spec
densities.
manual.
Yeah, all
And if-
densities met.
And if y'all recall, majority of our spec manual is based off of NCDOT standards. We do have a few exceptions in there where we've got a little higher standard, but all of that said and done, this would be a road that is acceptable by NCDOT if they were
Yeah.
taking it over.
Yes.
And I will mention for the public that are in the audience and maybe listening at home is there's also the ability, if they wanted to add curb and gutter, they could come back through a petition process to add that at a cost that would be borne to those respective landowners. So that is an opportunity if the crumbling of the asphalt on the side that's not structurally an issue is problematic for those individual homeowners, they could petition to have curb and gutter installed in that subdivision at a cost that they would actually have to pay for, but it would be at a cost that we would have kind of those larger quantity economies of scale costs. So just so y'all know.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the street acceptance petition?
So how do we tie these two together?
We just do the first
Just do the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if
Make the second
there's
one.
anybody here with the applicant or not, and if, or maybe they,
Well, but the second one says to approve and release bond.
Yeah.
Which we're not doing until,
Yeah.
that you would do with contingencies.
So I'm going to update that motion in your system when you get to that item, because we're still on the resolution for the road acceptance right now.
Yep.
But once we get to the bond release item, I'll update that motion with the necessary language.
Okay. So we're just going to do, accept the roads, and then we'll make it contingent on releasing the bond of getting the roads to where they need to be.
Did the applicant want to mention anything? You can just come up to the podium.
Sorry, I did not know you were here. Come on down.
Thank you for having me. I've discussed this with Hunter, and we're not happy with the way that the stabilization of the road shoulders took place. I know we've gotten some complaints about weeds or grass that didn't take, so we are going to redo that entirely. I think that's an agreement. We would like to wait until the fall, so maybe just a few more weeks from now to get to some cooler temperatures, but we'll be redoing that. And then anything else that the town needs for acceptance.
That impacts the motion that we drafted because we said it had to be done by October 1st.
And what he's
So-
saying makes sense with the planting.
I mean, I'm sorry if I wasn't clear enough. We can do it this month. We would just like to wait for some cooler temperatures. I can still get it done by October 1st. We'll be using a different contractor.
I'll take care of it.
And I also wasn't aware of the issue of a wire sticking out of the asphalt. That's definitely something that we'll address. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else, Hunter?
No, so if you guys want, like I said, make a motion to adopt the resolution accepting the roads, then we can discuss a little bit further about the bond real quick.
All right, so I need a motion to approve the street acceptance petition and adopt a resolution to assume maintenance on all public roads within the Belgrove subdivision.
So moved.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. So next up is discuss and consideration the Belgrove subdivision full bond release. Hunter?
Okay, so, now that the roads are accepted and stuff, that, normal circumstances we would make a motion to release the bond. Which is some of these things, it's being recommended that basically we can release the bond contingent upon, one, getting that wire removed, as well as just going out there, the engineer going back out there, double checking the potential holes, making sure there's no structural issues, and if so, have the developer address those, as well as the seating and matching the grade of the shoulders. As the developer has mentioned, they've already promised to do that. Christina, did you want to?
Yeah, I'm actually revising this motion right now, so If you can just give me a couple seconds if you want to keep talking.
But basically, it's, once all those items are addressed, then I can then, have a letter submitted to the developer saying that the bond has been released, that they have met all requirements of these contingencies, and get them their line of credit back.
And that would keep it from having to come back before you and keeping the developer from having to come back to a public hearing, but it'd also get what needs to be done, and it sounds like the developers agreed to do that. And I don't know if anyone wants to make any comments, but yeah, I think you're fine with moving forward in this procedure, and y'all are going to correct the deficiencies.
Okay.
It just
Like
saves
Pastor
from another
Elson.
hearing.
I just sent it to you, so it's
my.
probably not grammatically correct, but you can read it to the best of your ability, and y'all can so move it.
Read it, and somebody can say so move.
Okay.
I'll read it. Motion to release bond contingent upon aforementioned wire and road to be removed and repaired to structurally sound surface and subgrade, rectification of the shoulder seating to be remediated with respective seed that matches existing grass type of affected shoulders by November 1st, 2023, and assessment of the alleged 1-inch divots and remediation if structural issues are to be found. All items to be assessed and approved by the village engineer by October 1st, with the exception of the shoulder remediation, which is expected to be completed by November 1st, or the bond release will be placed on the 10/10 meeting for final release, where a partial release will be issued minus the net difference of the shoulder issue.
Good job, Wayne. Further discussion or questions? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. Okay, next up, open topics. Do we have any? Nope, none? Moving on. Agenda items. Review of action items. Austin?
Okay, give me 1 second here. You'll get calendar invites from me for the Coffee with Council events. Christina will execute the revised agreements with Amber Meadows and Tullamore, execute the agreement with East Coast Pyro Shows for the Marvin Day fireworks. Let's see. And we'll conduct the final review for the bond release as the items are fixed. That's really all I got.
Okay. All right, next up, review of Mayor Pro Kim's list. That'd be me. Ready, Austin? Okay. I don't know how you just don't have that open waiting for me. I'm ready.
He's doing his part.
I know, it is getting shorter. I do have a question of something that should be on here. Christina, have we put in a work order for plantings and the new roundabout when it's finished?
We're actually working on a couple of things with that now, but yeah, we'll add that on.
Yeah.
We have not.
Oh. Okay. Wayne and Hunter, have you gone to the towns at Ardrey Park again? Nope. I know. Do you stop and talk to anybody? Okay.
Hunter's actually going to give you an update on that at the next work session. We might have some workaround, but
Okay.
still keep going back.
Okay. Winmore, we're going to be done with that.
We should be done by the end of the month.
That's what I keep hearing. Interlocal agreement for regional pump station, I would just go ahead and remove that. We can go ahead and get rid of that.
Okay.
Councilman Wortman, have you finished all of your projects at Village Hall? No, you have not, okay. All right. Okay, that's complete. Christina has negotiated with Bars Recreation on pricing. Christina, I'm sorry. Bars Recreation, you're done with that?
No, we're still waiting on Chaplin to get the agreement drafted, which should be done this week.
Okay, so now it needs to say Mr. Spencer needs to do his part of that. Just kidding. Changes for the drainage study. I'm beginning working on RFP.
I actually think it's something that Michael and I have been discussing it. We think it's something that can be done within our existing scope with Union Environmental. So we're awaiting a quote from them, and we won't have to RFP for that.
Fantastic. I think we can recruit residents for multipurpose field study. Additional quotes for installation of Wi-Fi at Marvin Eford Park.
Mike McGarrahan's working on that, so he should have that done in the next week or two.
Fantastic. I have not seen any additional communications about not driving through the roundabout construction site.
Yes, I typed that up today, actually.
Okay.
Should be in the newsletter on Friday, and we'll start scaring people with it
Scaring
next week.
people, because we're like halfway there.
One other thing I'd recommend going ahead and completing or taking off the annexation with the chimneys. We followed up with them last week. I haven't heard anything back at this point. We've answered every question they've sent to us. The ball is really in their court.
Just leave it on there. Just leave it on there, in progress, that'd be good. Okay, all right. Council comments. We're gonna start with you, Joey.
Hey, just walking back to my office, I made a few notes. One real quick thing, well, first off, welcome to the intern, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch her name. The new intern?
Just coming on down.
Hi, my name's Bolami.
Follow me.
You can call me
Well-
Pooh if you'd like.
Who?
Yeah.
Hot dog. Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to meet everybody.
Yeah, glad you're here and look forward to working with you. I'm sure that our staff is as well, so thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah.
Real quick, I thought we were gonna go into the coffee with council. We never really talked about that, Jamie. We actually had a nice group show up. Do you wanna, and you can go into that, it's probably a little bit easier for you to explain, but we had a nice group, 2 women. We're talking about revisiting the refuges, and if we're gonna do these, they're very curious about the bonds, and if we're gonna do these bonds, if there's some way we can incorporate, sharing the cost with the refuge along Joe Carr, which I thought made a lot of sense. If we're trying to get connectability, we gotta do it in a safe way. But other than that, I apologize for not being there. My wife had wrist surgery, all went well, and thank you for all your thoughts and prayers, and we're doing well. Just tending to the wife right now while I'm at the meeting, but my kids are still at band practice. They haven't showed up yet to give me relief. So that's all I have.
That's it? Are you sure?
Oh, I can go on.
Nope. Somebody mute him. Austin, can you mute him? All right, Andy. We missed you, Joe.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Bob?
No, I'm fine.
Wayne?
I want to thank the staff, the new staff, and the law enforcement for their work taking care of us. That's it.
All right, thank you. Jamie?
Just real quick too, the little, the picnic we had, thanks to staff. I want to get together and put an email out, but y'all did a great job with that. Thank you so much. The baskets were nice and everything put together as always. Just a tremendous job. I know everyone there enjoyed it and it was a good time by all. So thanks, staff. You knocked it out of the park. The other comment, the other comment, I will continue to drive this home because we do miss on a lot of different things. The HOAs have to be involved, and I don't know, and I'll work, Austin, with you, but we've got to get representatives from HOAs here on our meetings like this, whether it's a work session or even if it's a council meeting, a representative from, once a month, just have one representative from an HOA come and just take notes to hear what's going on so they can take it back. They hear what's going on in the community. If it affects them, that's great because they can ask questions about it at Coffee with Council when they come. But just, there's a connection. We're missing a connection here. And somehow, some way, we got to get the HOA involved in coming and understanding what's going on in their community, because I think that's their responsibility. That's just my view of it. And I know the GO bonds, that's one thing that we can work on a schedule with that, but I would just say if you have a resident and you're in a neighborhood, ask why your HOA representatives can't come and just be a part of what we're doing, so we don't have to go through fire drills at the last minute to get something done, because that's kind of become the norm, and it shouldn't be the norm. We shouldn't have to wait till the very last minute when we're getting ready to vote on something, and we've got people coming up and going, whoa, wait a second, I want to make these 52 changes, and, you know, why didn't you let us know? Well, there's a reason. So that, Tommy, you and Ed be safe. Thanks for what you do. Hey, I love it because I get the next door police on Joe Carr, and I think it's hilarious. So keep up the good work. Thanks for all you do. Good.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, staff. Thank you, council, for a great meeting. It was so fast. You're welcome. No, it was a great meeting. We got a lot of stuff done. We've got a lot of really great things coming up in the next few months. It's going to be a big push to the end of the year. So let's just keep at it. I agree with Jamie. I thought last week was awesome. That was a really great event. I'd love to do more stuff like that. So thank you all very much. And yeah, with that, I need a motion to adjourn. Oh, no, wait. Do we have closed session?
Do we have closed session?
No?
Mike?
Okay. I need a motion to adjourn the Village Council regular meeting on Tuesday, September 12th at 7:47 PM.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye, Joe. Peace out, home skillet.